The next unit we're looking at is called organized counting or permutations. Permutations is just a fancy way of saying, how can I go and take different possibilities, look for patterns in them, and then count them. When it comes to organized counting, the key is to look for the shortcut. You could always get the answer by writing out every single possibilities. We have two units we're going to be doing here. The first one's called permutations, where you'll just look at questions like there's 10 people that you need to go and line up. How many different ways can you arrange them? And the other questions would be there's 10 people and you need to pick 3 to be leaders in the class, or you need to pick a president, vice president, secretary, or something like that. So those are the kind of questions. The other thing we'll look at in the next unit is combinatorics, which is more complex counting where the order doesn't always matter. And those are questions like pizza toppings. So you go into a pizza place and there's 15 topping options and you want 3. Does it matter if they put pepperoni, then mushrooms, then green pepper, or green pepper, mushrooms, pepperoni? You're getting the same pizza. So in that case, there's actually a whole lot less. So this is the branch of mathematics that deals with counting complex situations. And as we get into this unit, it's going to be way more complicated than picking 3 people from 10 or pizza toppings. Things like how many telephone numbers exist? What about postal codes? Why is it that in the United States they actually ran out of zip codes, but we're not even close to running out of postal codes? What's different in the US system with how they do their mail with the zip code? There's even a television show based off of this, a really old show, 90210.
Less numbers or whatever it is or something.
That's it. It's a 5 digits and it's only numbers. The Canadian postal code, letter, number, letter, number, letter, number. So when you get to this kind of question, you can either, the US system, you can have 10 numbers with 5 spots, or the Canadian system where you can have 26 letters times 10 numbers times 26 letters. So those are the kind of questions that we'll look at. Coloring flags, coloring maps, all of that will go into it too. The skills that you kind of need in this, basic calculations, multiplying, adding, some exponents, but tree diagrams. Do you see why they tie into this so much? When you're dealing with things like the number of different possibilities, being able to illustrate that out in a tree diagram can be really helpful. So flip through the first couple of questions, and then I'm going to give some time to work on them. For example, this is a typical question that we've already looked at. Very basic spinner, 2 colors, spins it 4 times. Draw the tree diagram, do the short form to get the counting. You could do it by writing out all possibilities, okay? And I believe you would get 16 possibilities, but I want you to look for shortcuts when you get to that. Flip over to question number 2. Our school store sells a lot of different items. It's actually gotten more complex now. Originally, when I started teaching here in the school store, most students would select a drink with their hot food item. On any given day, the store had 4 hot food options. I think it was pizza, soup, 2 different mains or something like that, and about 8 drink options. The reality is that this doesn't represent the balance. Most students, when the school store opened up, got a slice of pizza and a large chocolate milk. But there were other options that were there. So how many different combinations are available if a person buys 1 drink and 1 hot food item? This question I purposely haven't put down the tree diagram because it's just starting to get annoying. I'm hoping you can just use the algebra to get that. Question 3. Seems like a different question, but I would challenge you that it's actually not. When you go to a university or college program next year, rather than doing 3 or 4 courses a semester, which most grade 12s do, 3 if they have a spare, 4 if it's a full course load, you will have 5 courses. And it seems like there's tons of options, but depending on the program you're in, as a first-year student, you're going to be limited. So if you go into psychology, you don't just take Psychology 101, you'll also be forced to take a statistics course and likely some humanities course, whether it's in English or history or something, and then you'll have a couple options. So this was me year 1 as a science math major. I had to take biology, chem, and math. And then from there, because I was in education, they wanted to make sure that even if you're going to be a science teacher, we want to make sure you know something about people. So you have to take one course in anthropology, psychology, or sociology. And then my 5th course, I had to take an arts course because they wanted us to be well-balanced science teachers. 25 art course options. So how many different ways could my schedule be set up? And I challenge you to think, this is actually identical to the